Okay, students, is my voice audible and screen is visible? One of you can unmute and tell me. Can you see
Yes,
the
ma'am.
screen? Ah, okay, yesterday we were talking about the sewage treatment, the sewage treatment plants, all the three steps involved in the sewage treatment, and few examples yesterday I was going to give you, but as the time was not there available, time slot was over, I couldn't give you. So common example which everybody knows, that I just want to mention it, and then we'll go ahead for the next part of the chapter. See, everybody must be knowing that the Ganga Action Plan, that the Ministry of Environment and Forest has initiated that Ganga Action Plan, and also the Yamuna Action Plan to save the major rivers of our country from pollution. Everybody must be knowing that. And under these plans, it is proposed to build a large number of sewage treatment plants so that only treated sewage may be discharged into the rivers. And as we discussed yesterday, all the 3-4 steps which are followed, and then only when that water becomes ready, that to release in the water, then only it will be released in the body, water bodies, natural water resources. So this is what I just wanted to tell you. Then one more thing which is mentioned, that everybody knows, that is about bioremediation. What that means, what is that process? That the microbes can be used to remove toxic substances that are accidentally released into the environment, such as oil or chemical spills and lands contaminated with toxic waste. Generally, what happens in the oceans, sometimes there accidentally the oil gets mixed in the water, and for that, removing of all these chemicals, oils, such toxic substances, to overcome the this effect of that pollution, water or even soil or the land, then this contamination land, a contaminated land or water is treated with specific type of microbes. Biological agents are used, and so this is what called as, this process is called as bioremediation. Because of this accidental things like oil spills in water or any other chemicals released on the land or in this or in the water also, it gets polluted, and so this toxic waste is to be removed by using biological agents, and so this is what called as bioremediation. And in this case, so many microbes like bacteria and even algal members are used. So these substances, biological agents only, are used to remove this toxicity of the land or water. So this is what called as bioremediation. Now the next is very important part, like sewage treatment. One more important part of this chapter is biogas plant, or how this biogas is generated, or what are the contents of biogas. Okay, so let us see. Anaerobic digestion involves three processes. There are the three steps, like in case of sewage treatments also: preliminary, then primary, secondary and tertiary. Here also you need to remember these three steps. Once you remember these three steps, it will be easier for you to write in the exam also. So these 2 points from this chapter are very important, which can come for 3 marks. That is, one is sewage treatment and the second is this biogas formation, or the steps involved in the biogas formation, along with the benefits. So we will discuss these 3 steps first, and then what are the benefits of this biogas. So first step involved is hydrolysis, or this is also called as solubilization, which involves or includes raw material is mixed with water in equal proportion to make slurry, which is then fed into the digester. Here, anaerobic hydrolytic bacteria like Clostridium, Pseudomonas, etc., they are used to hydrolyze these carbohydrates into simple sugars, proteins into amino acids, lipids into fatty acids. Means what happens here? Raw material, what is generally used is generally house waste, and most in case of rural areas, generally these plants are used, and they are very much useful over there in those areas where cow dung or cattle dung is available in large quantity. So major part of the raw material used in the biogas plant or biogas treatment or the biogas gas plant is cattle dung. Not only cattle dung, household waste is also used. That means the raw part of the vegetables, then even the like cow dung or cattle dung, human excreta also is mixed. So such type of, even some the waste from the farms, that also can be used. So this is what all raw material. This raw material is mixed with water in equal proportion, and then it is, when it is mixed, that cattle dung and rest of the raw material along with water, then whatever is formed, that is called as slurry. Then this slurry is fed into digester. That means it is kept, or it is allowed to keep for some specific period of duration, specific period of time in large containers where they get digested. So that those large containers are called as digesters. These are big tanks, maybe metal tanks, or they are formed using, they are made up of bricks and all that also. I will show you the diagram also later. So such type of digesters are made where the slurry is kept for a particular time. So there, whatever the compound form of the substances is there, it get digested with the help of anaerobic bacteria. These are of hydrolytic type. Why? Because we are adding water here in the slurry. So that slurry is nothing but the raw material plus water in equal proportion. So then that hydrolytic bacteria which are of anaerobic type. Now you know the meaning of anaerobes and aerobes. Anaerobic organisms which grow in absence of oxygen, whereas aerobes or aerobic organisms are those which require oxygen for the respiration, right? So such type of anaerobic bacteria which are of hydrolytic type, for example Clostridium, Pseudomonas, so such type of hydrolytic bacteria which are of anaerobic type, that means what, which can grow in absence of oxygen, they are acting in those digesters, means in those tanks where the slurry is kept. These bacteria, for example Clostridium, Pseudomonas, etc., they hydrolyze these substances which are in the compound form, for example carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. So the whatever the raw material contains, so these substances are converted into simpler forms, means carbohydrates get converted into simple sugars, proteins into amino acids, lipids into fatty acids, like that. Here hydrolysis is done. This is also called as solubilization, because this raw material gets soluble in water, and that compound form of raw material gets converted into simpler forms like carbohydrates into sugars, proteins into amino acids, lipids into fatty acids. So this is what called as the reactions takes place in presence of water. This is what hydrolysis. Lysis is destruction. In presence of water, these compound form of substances gets converted into simpler forms, right? So this is the first step involved in the biogas formation. Then the second step is what? In the second step, what happens? These all substances which are produced, they in this stage, facultative type of anaerobes, acidogenic bacteria, and obligate anaerobic organisms, they work and they convert these simple organic material into acids like formic acids, acetic acids, and these gases like hydrogen and carbon dioxide. So what is the next step? Second step is called as acidogenesis. Very simple. Acidogenesis means what? Acids are formed. Genesis means formation or synthesis. What is synthesized or what is formed? Acids. So which acids are formed? Formic acids, acetic acids. So such type of acids are formed. From which, now what is formed in the first step of hydrolysis? All these amino acids, then the fatty acids, right? Sugars. that those acids or those compounds in presence of anaerobic as well as acidogenetic type of organisms convert these acids into the acids organic material, organic acids like formic acids, acetic acid, and the gases like hydrogen and CO2, carbon dioxide. So this step is called as acidogenesis. Now, what is the meaning of the facultative anaerobic and the obligate anaerobic bacteria organisms? These are the organisms, or the what happens in case of facultative anaerobic bacteria or the organisms. These are anaerobes, means they can grow in absence of oxygen. But if oxygen is available, then also they can grow and produce energy. Okay, they can respire, so that's why they are called as facultative. In presence of oxygen also they are active, and in absence or unavailability of the oxygen also they are growing. Whereas obligate type of anaerobic organisms are those which can survive only in absence of oxygen. If the oxygen is available in more than 0.2 to 0.5%, then they cannot survive. So that is the difference between anaerobic and facultative type of anaerobic organisms, right? So anaerobic means the simple way, in absence of oxygen they grow. And acidogenic, the word has come because they are converting these different types of organic acid. So acidogenic bacteria. So acidogenic bacteria, they work, and these organic acids like formic acids and acetic acids are formed. Now, the next step, that is called as methanogenesis. So what is the meaning? Methane is synthesized, produced. So what is the meaning of methanogenesis? Synthesis of methane or formation of methane. So in this last stage, what happens? These anaerobic methanogenic bacteria like methanobacterium or methanococcus convert these acids, that means organic acids like acetic acid, formic acid, into what? These convert the acetate, hydrogen and CO2 into methane, CO2 and water and some few other products. So what is form? What is conversion? These formic acid, acetic acid, or they are called as formate or acetate, and hydrogen and CO2 in presence of these methanogenic bacteria like methanobacterium, methanococcus, they get converted into methane, carbon dioxide and CO2, H2O, or some few other gases and compounds are produced, but their number is very less. So this is the third step called as methanogenesis. So it is given in the form of reaction. You can remember this acetic acid gets converted into methane, and then if it is formic acid, there it is getting converted into methane. Acetic acid, the formula is like that, which gets converted into methane and CO2, whereas formic acid is the compound produced, that is the organic acid, then that gets converted to methane, CO2 and water. So CO2 and H2 then gets converted again into methane and water. In some form of amount of water molecules are produced. So these are the reactions that are shown for this process of biogas formation. So the maximum percentage is of methane, and in a less percentage CO2 is produced, and amount of water molecule is produced. So these are the steps of biogas formation. This question can be asked for 3 marks. So remember, hydrolysis, acidogenesis and methanogenesis. Okay. Now what are the benefits? Whatever the gas is formed, methane, whether it is useful, for which purpose it is used, these are the benefits. So the most important thing in case of biogas formation, that is the maximum major part is of methane, that is cheap, safe and renewable source of energy. It can be easily generated, stored and transported. So these are very important things which can be considered as benefits of the biogas formation. Because this is cheap. Why cheap? Because whatever the natural sources are available, they are used. That means cattle dung, household waste, and agricultural waste, that is used. So this is cheap, safe also, there is no harm, and renewable, because natural material we are using, and that can be recycled, renewable source of energy. Okay, it can be easily generated, so storage is also easy, and the transportation is also easy. So this is what the major important thing in case of biogas formation, that is the methane formation. Then the second is it can be used for domestic lighting. So we can use is it this gas for the lighting purpose, then for cooking, then even for street lighting, as well as small scale industries. Also this biogas, that methane, is useful. The next important thing is it burns with blue flame and without smoke. So this is very important, that it cannot produce any pollution. Smoke is not produced. So it burns with blue flame without forming any smoke. Then it helps to improve sanitation of the surrounding. Now you can understand this point, that in case of villages, rural area, generally these cattle dung, if you see, uh, anywhere that can be wasted, it can be sprayed, and because of this human waste and cattle dung, that means cattle waste, so many different types of diseases can arise, and they can be spread easily. The surrounding is made very what you can say, surrounding is disturbed, or this environment also gets polluted, surrounding also gets polluted. So to avoid it, this all waste are utilized here for the formation of biogas. So this is what, in this way it improves sanitation, so that surrounding is made clean. Okay, then it is eco-friendly and does not cause pollution and imbalance of environment. So this is all, this is what, that it is eco-friendly, it doesn't cause any pollution, so imbalance of the environment cannot happen, because it is from the environment we are using all these natural raw material, and again it is used for the environment. So this is what one of the benefits of methane or biogas formation. Then one more thing, that sludge which is left over is used as fertilizer. So whatever the solid material remains, that is called as sludge, and that can be used as manure, or it is used as a biofertilizer. So nothing is wasted. Whatever we are using the raw material, everything is useful. Either it is useful in the formation of gas like methane, or whatever the solid material is, it remains, that is used as that sludge is made, used to make use for the agriculture as a fertilizer. So these are all so many benefits. So whenever the question is asked, these three steps are very important to mention, and benefits, whether asked or not, you always mention those benefits of biogas formation. Now this is the plant where the mixture of gases containing, see, this is inlet. This is the digester, a large tank. Maybe it may be made up of the metal, or it generally is made in the rural areas with the help of brick. And here is the inlet. This is the inlet from where that slurry, or you can say the raw material along with water, it is with the help of pipes. It is kept here, taken here in the digester. It is collected. Then here whatever the gas is, obviously being light in weight, gas is produced, and here is the inlet where sorry, this here is the outlet. From here one tab is there, and this through the outlet, either this gas is taken out with the help of this outlet where gas holder is present here, and the slurry or whatever the sludge is, it remains, that is taken out from this side, that is the another side of the tank, that is the digester, as outlet, and that is used for the agricultural purpose as manure. So this is what the structure of the biogas plant. These bacteria are collectively called methanogens, and one such common bacterium is methanobacterium. So the bacteria commonly found in the anaerobic sludge during sewage treatment, they are also of this type, that is methanogens. And one more thing you must be knowing, some of you, that these bacteria are also present in the rumen, that are part of the stomach of the cattle. Okay, you know what is the role of rumen, that you must be knowing. So this is again one more diagram to show the different parts, how it is made. This is the digester, and this is the floating cover generally, because gas which is produced, that is stored, and then through this, here is the tap from through which the gas is removed out. Here also in this diagram you can see, here this is the digester, here is the gas tank, where whichever the gas is produced through that gas outlet, it is taken out, the gas is taken out, and here through this slurry is taken through this inlet to the digester tank, that is this tank, and then through the outer other outlet from the other side of the tank, the digester, whatever the whatever the sludge is, it remains, that is taken out and used as a manure or fertilizer. So this is very simple, uh, what you can say, the way of uh, biogas formation. This is the biogas plant. Again, the same things are shown here. This is the gas holder where the gas is stored, and through with the help of this valve or the gas holder, this gas is taken out and used for different purposes. So the biogas plant has an outlet which is connected to a pipe to supply biogas to the nearby houses, and the spent slurry is removed through another outlet and may be used as fertilizer. So this, that you can remember. One more thing here, uh, these are the benefits. For cooking it is shown, then for lighting it is shown. So biogas plant is often built generally in the rural areas for different purposes. Now the next is what? Microbes as biocontrol agents. So let us discuss what are these biocontrol agents. Naturally, you know, everybody, that common example, everybody knows. Biocontrol, that means controlling of these, what you can say, the pests or insects or such type of animals, or the, what you can say, the these can be controlled by using biological agents only. So very common example, you know, is when you kill the snakes, then what happens? The snakes are dependent on the rats in the field. Then if the number of snakes gets reduced, automatically the number of rodents or the rats will be increased. So what will happen then? Obviously it is going to affect the our agricultural crop. So it affects the production as well as storage, there also it gets affected. So this is what the natural way of controlling all these agents, that is what called as biocontrol. Biocontrol refers to the use of biological methods for controlling plant diseases and pests. So this is what biocontrol. Now few examples you are also aware of. In modern society, these problems have been increased by the use of chemicals like pesticides and insecticides. You know, as there is a growth of pests and insects in the growing crop, generally it is observed that these pesticides and the insecticides are used in the form of spray or liquid, or like this way, so that these pests as well as insects get killed, but at the same time it may harm to the plants also and to some natural insects as well as some natural agents also. The number gets affected, and the entire natural system gets that chain gets collapsed. So to avoid it, there are some ways now we have developed by using rDNA technology. You also know about it. So these chemicals are toxic and extremely harmful to the human beings and animals. So they have been polluted the environment like soil, groundwater, fruits, vegetables, crop plants, etc. So because they contain these chemicals which are harmful not only to the plants, in this way we can control these insects and the pests, but that those chemicals remain in the soil, they remain in the ground, they remain in the water, and they are to some extent remain in the fruits, vegetables and crop plants. And when they are ingested by the human beings or the animals, then those animals and human beings also get uh, the adverse effect from these chemicals. So biological control of pests and diseases is very important. So in agriculture, there is a method of controlling pests that relies on natural predation than chemicals. Some of you might be knowing, you must have observed this diagram. So when the crop is growing, a mesh network like that made up of very small, what you can say, sometimes it is of metal, sometimes it is a specific type of material is used to form this mesh like structure. And in this way, in this mesh or this these insects and pests are caught. But that these are some of the mechanical methods which may take time also, and they are not so effective. They are effective, but to not that much extent. So these are some of the natural ways, but it may take time consuming also. So we have developed many more methods. So an important part of biological farming approach is to become familiar with the various life forms that inhabit the field, predators as well as pests, and also their life cycle pattern of feeding and the habitats they prefer. And this will help to develop appropriate mean of biocontrol. Now some of the examples we will discuss, these are the natural prey-predator relationship. What is that? The very familiar beetle with red and black markings, the ladybug, that is called as ladybird, and dragonflies are useful to get rid of aphids and mosquitoes respectively. You can see the picture here. The ladybird, you can observe in the on the plants where these aphids very fast they consume the plants, isn't it? These leaves are consumed by aphids, and so it affects the entire crop plant. So naturally, that these are the prey predator relationship. Naturally, these ladybird they eat aphids, they are dependent on aphids, so the number of aphids is controlled naturally by these ladybird. So this is one example. Then another is what? Mosquitoes, their number is also controlled by dragonflies. So this is the very common naturally controlled agents which are very much helpful in our agricultural purpose, in our environment, to control these preys. That means these are the preys of these predators, and this prey predator relationship is very important in the natural cycle. Now, this example also, everybody last chapter we have discussed, learned it. That is the example of biocontrol agent that can be introduced in order to control butterfly caterpillars is the bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis. This is also called as BT. So in case of BT cotton, those cotton balls, generally when the cotton is growing, those cotton balls are affected by the bollworms. They're the worms. These worms, or we can see uh, they are growing on these cotton balls, and their number should be controlled. And so what we have done is BT, that means Bacillus thuringiensis, which we have used when these worms ingest that plant. So automatically what happens, the gut of the insect or the larvae gets because of the acidic environment, that protoxin crystal protein which is present, that gets converted into toxic form, and there is the death of these bollworms, or you can say these larvae which are consuming the plant. So this is very common example that everybody you have learned in biotechnology chapter. So these are available in sachet as dry spores, which are mixed with water and sprayed onto vulnerable plants such as brassicas, fruit trees, where these are eaten by the insect larvae. So when these insect larvae eat, they consume the plants, then automatically what happens? These spores, dry spores which are mixed with water, they get into the gut of these larvae, and because of the an acidic environment, then whatever those spores which contain the crystal protein, which is that crystal protein is non-toxic, but in presence of acidic environment of this gut of the insects or the larvae, they get that becomes toxic, and then the death of the these larvae takes place. And in this way, naturally, we can control the growth of these uh, insects or pests or such type of um, the organisms which are affecting the crop plants. The bacterial disease will kill the caterpillars, but leave other insects unharmed. So this is also one of the important thing that you need to remember, that it doesn't affect any other organisms which are useful. So because of the development of methods of genetic engineering in the last decade, the scientists have introduced Bacillus thuringiensis toxin genes into plants. So that gene only is introduced in the plants so that naturally we can control the pests or insects. So some of the examples which I already studied, that is BT cotton, BT brinjal, BT corn, and so many other crops which have been developed in this way and which are using as biocontrol agents. And one more example of fungus, that is trichoderma. That is also one of the important control that control the plant. For example, they are very much effective biocontrol agents to several plants pathogens. So these are nothing but the free living fungi and very common in root ecosystem. Then one more example is baculoviruses, are the pathogens that attack insects and other arthropods. So the majority of baculoviruses used as biocontrol agents, and they are the agents in the genus. They are these agents or which are used as biocontrol agents are in the genus nucleopolyhedrovirus. This is a type of virus. Depending on its nature, the name is given. So these viruses are excellent candidates for specific species. They are species specific, narrow spectrum insecticidal applications. That means what they affect only that particular insect or only that particular pest without harming any other naturally occurring organisms. So they have been shown to have no negative impacts on plants, mammals, birds, fish, or even on non-target insects. So that's why they are called as species specific. These viruses are very much species specific. They affect only that particular species without causing any harm to the other naturally occurring, maybe plant, bird, fish, or whatever the mammals. So this is one more thing that is called as integrated pest management. That is also one of the ways of biocontrol. This is especially desirable when beneficial insects are being conserved to aid in an overall integrated pest management program, or when an ecologically sensitive area is being treated. Now, what is that we will discuss? This is just one of the ways of controlling the biological, using biological agents to that particular area. Now, the next is what? Microbes as biofertilizers. Now, everybody knows what is that biofertilizer, and we have already to some extent studied this also. So, biofertilizers are organisms that enrich the nutrient quality of the soil. Now, we will discuss one by one what are these examples of biofertilizers. The main source of biofertilizers are bacteria, fungi, and cyanobacteria. Previously also I must have mentioned about bacteria, I must have mentioned about cyanobacteria. Last year we have studied this to some extent in the classification of plants also. So we'll study now each type with example. Now we studied about the nodules on the roots of leguminous plants formed by the symbiotic association with rhizobium. Now everybody knows what the rhizobium, these are the bacteria. Okay, these bacteria fix atmospheric nitrogen into organic forms, which is used by the plant as a nutrient. For example, now the common example I tell you, you might have observed during rainy season if you have observed the trifolium, that is methi, you know, the vegetable methi which you use as a vegetable. If you have observed the roots of this trifolium, that is methi, you might have observed small rounded structures on the roots. Okay, so these are called as nodules, and these nodules, they show the presence of these bacteria called as rhizobium. So this is called as symbiotic type of association. You must be knowing the meaning of symbiotic type of association. Symbiotic type of association is nothing but this is the partnership where both the partners get benefit from each other. Now what are the partners here? Roots of this trifolium, or in general you remember as leguminous plants. Leguminous plants means what? Legume means pod. So pod producing plants, you must be knowing some of the examples I tell you. That means all these, what you can see, for example, um, mm, uh, what you can say, peas, grams, all these examples, these are the leguminous plants. Okay, and so many other legumes, that means where pod producing plants. The roots of these plants show these nodules. So here are, these are the roots, and you can see these nodular or these structures, spherical or rounded structures or rod shaped structures. These are the nodules. So nodules of these roots, these plants, roots, they show these nodules, and these nodules show the presence of this bacteria. What are these bacteria? These are rhizobia. So rhizobia are present in the root nodules, nodules on the roots of these leguminous plants. That means what? They are using the space. Bacteria are growing there. That means they are using the space or the place of these roots, and in turn what the roots are getting benefit from these bacteria, because what they are doing, these bacteria which are present in the root nodules, they convert atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds. Now you know that N, P, K, these are the major nutrients for the growth, proper growth of the plants. But the atmospheric nitrogen, though it is present in plenty in the atmosphere, this atmospheric nitrogen, this free nitrogen, is of no use for the growth of the plants. But in which form it is useful? It must be in the form of nitrogenous compounds like nitrates, nitrites, etc. Right? But then this atmospheric nitrogen, which is free in the atmosphere, is converted into nitrogenous compounds like nitrates and nitrates. That conversion is made by these rhizobia present in the root nodules, and then it is made available to the plants for the proper growth. So both the partners are getting benefit from each other. That means what? These bacteria, they are occupying the place, they are using the place in the root nodules, and in turn they are converting this atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds and making available to the plants. So plants also are getting benefit from these bacteria. So this type of association is called as symbiotic type of association. Got it? So this is what symbiotic type of association. So this is one example. So in this way, naturally in the environment, this nitrogenous compounds are made available. That's why they are called as biofertilizers, because of that these are the biological agents. So that's why called as biofertilizers. Why fertilizers? Because they are increasing the fertility of the soil by providing nitrogenous compounds to the crops. So obviously they remain in the soil also, they are providing to the plants also. So in this way they are working as biofertilizer. Now the next example is the different types of bacteria. They are not symbiotic, but they are free living. Okay, symbiotic means what? They are living in association, where their rhizobium is the best example of symbiotic type of bacteria, which they are growing or living in association with the root nodules of the leguminous plants. Whereas this azospirillum or azobacter, both these are the examples of free living bacteria. So other bacteria can fix atmospheric nitrogen while free living in the soil and enriching the nitrogen content of the soil. So that's why they are called as biofertilizers, because these are the biological agents. That means they are naturally occurring where they are present in the soil. They are free living. Free living means they are not living in association with any other plant or organism. So they are present in the soil, they are free living, and the same work like rhizobium also they are doing. That means they also are converting free nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere into nitrogenous compounds, and in this way the nitrogen content of the soil is increased. So in this way they are enriching the nitrogen content of the soil, and that's why they are considered to be biofertilizers. Now the next example, very common example, some of you might be knowing, some of you might not be knowing, but this is also very important example, that is called as mycorrhiza. Now try to understand the meaning of mycorrhiza. I split this word into myco and rhiza. Mycos means fungi. Myco word is always related to fungi. So fungus, and rhiza, roots. So fungus is present in the roots of many plants. So many gymnosperms, so many angiosperms, 80 to 85% of the angiospermic plants, they show the presence of this mycorrhiza. Even 80% of the gymnosperms show the presence of this mycorrhiza. Okay, so fungi is also one of the best examples of symbiotic type of association. Just like symbiotic type of association of bacteria, that is rhizobium, this is a symbiotic type of association of fungi. Okay, so this is the best example. Now fungal symbionts in these associations facilitate absorption of phosphorus by the plant from the soil. Now see how they are considered to be symbiotic type of association. I'll just tell you in 1 minute, and then I will stop. Because see, fungus is growing in on the either around the roots of the plants or inside the root cortical cells. Means there are two types of mycorrhiza. One, externally present, they are called as ectomycorrhiza, means which are growing around the roots of these plants. They are called as ectomycorrhiza. And the other one, which are present, growing inside the cortical roots of these plants, they are called as endomycorrhiza. Ectomycorrhiza, they are forming a mycelium. They are growing around these roots. So they increase the surface area of the roots. So maximum amount of the phosphorus from the soil is taken by the fungi. That means these mycorrhiza. Okay. And in turn, what the mycorrhiza is taking from the plant is carbon source, carbohydrates or the sugars. So in this way, both the partners are getting benefit from each other. Let me tell you in 1 minute and then I'll stop. That is fungi that is growing either around the roots, ectomycorrhiza, or in the cortical cells of the roots, endomycorrhiza. They are taking carbon from the plant, and in turn, as they are increase the surface area of the plant, maximum amount of phosphorus is taken from the soil and made available to the plant. So in this way, both the partners get benefit from each other. So whatever the next part is there, that I will explain you later, because I need to stop this as your class teacher is going to give you instructions. That's why I'm not going to continue this one.